This is the peak moment of Dragon Queen. From having nothing, she rose to command armies, and to be loved by her people. She didn't rely on wealth to buy loyalty, nor did she use force to subjugate others. Instead, she chose to prove she was worthy of being followed. She could, and she would, create a better world. Let's review the brilliance of the Dragon Queen in Game of Thrones Season 3. Dragons grow at an astonishing speed, but for Daenerys, it wasn't fast enough. She urgently needed an army. Following Yora's suggestion, Daenerys traveled to Astapor in Slaver's Bay to purchase the Unsullied. The Unsullied's training was even more brutal than that of the Deadpool. They were castrated as children, began training at 5, and practiced from dawn till dusk every day. Only 1 in 4 boys survived the training, leaving only the strongest and the most disciplined. To demonstrate their absolute obedience and loyalty, the slave master even cut their nipple. Daenerys was appalled by the cruelty of their training. But now, the 8,000 Unsullied were crucial to her cause. The slave master urged her to make a quick decision, as other buyers were also interested in the Unsullied. While hesitating, Daenerys was distracted by a little girl. She took out a ball and tossed it to her, gesturing for her to open it. At that moment, a mysterious man knocked her over, and a toxin crawled out of the ball. The little girl turned out to be the warlock in disguise, and she quickly escaped by jumping into the river. The mysterious man then revealed himself, Barristan Selmy, the former Kingsguard of her father, and one of the 7 Kingdoms' greatest warriors.
I was sworn to protect your family. I failed them. Allow me to join your Queen's Guard, and I will not fail you again.
Barristan's loyalty added strength to Daenerys' growing influence. The next day, Daenerys met with the slave master. She expressed her desire to purchase all the Unsullied, including those still in training. But the master mocked her, believing she couldn't afford them. Daenerys glanced at the slave child. She made up her mind.
I have dragons. I'll give you one.
Both Yora and Barristan strongly opposed this idea, but Daenerys silenced them with a single glare. After intense negotiations, she agreed to trade her biggest dragon for the army and the translator Missandei. When her advisors tried again to dissuade her, Daenerys firmly shut them down.
You're both here to advise me. I value your advice, but if you ever question me in front of strangers again, you'll be advising someone else. Daenerys
was no longer a timid girl. She was now a queen. She asked Missandei if she would follow her. She may get hungry, may fall sick, may be killed.
Yes, all men must die, but we are not men.
At the transaction site, Daenerys chained Drogon, her biggest dragon, handed over to the slave master. In return, she received the whip. That symbolized control over the Unsullied.
Is it done then? They belong to me. It is done. You hold the whip.
With confirmation, Daenerys walked towards the Unsullied with the whip in hand. She commanded them to take 2 steps forward, testing their obedience. Indeed, they followed the whip's orders. But Drogon refused to obey the slave master. The master grew frustrated, demanding to know how to control the dragon. Turns out Daenerys has been holding back for days, just for this moment. She turned to the Unsullied and commanded. The slave master panicked, desperately asserting that he was their true master. With that command, Drogon unleashed flames, and the Unsullied, with no hesitation, unleashed their fury upon the camp. The pain and oppression they had endured their entire lives were avenged in that fiery moment. Daenerys' brilliant plan succeeded. As the smoke cleared, Yora looked at her with admiration and pride. Unlike the slave masters who coerced their slaves, Daenerys offered the Unsullied freedom, allowing them to choose whether to stay or leave. One by one, the soldiers pledged their loyalty. Not a single one chose to leave. Now, Daenerys truly owned an army. Daenerys discarded the whip, a symbol of oppression she no longer needed. She had won their hearts. With her new army, Daenerys marched toward her next destination, Yunkai. Yunkai was known for training slaves rather than soldiers, but its fortified walls posed significant challenges. Yora suggested bypassing the city because it's no use for taking the 7 kingdoms. However, upon learning that Yunkai held 200,000 slaves,
and we have 200,000 reasons to take the city,
Daenerys decided to liberate the city at all costs. Subsequently, Daenerys summoned the slave masters, ordering them to surrender. Otherwise, their fate would mirror Astapor's. However, they had no intention of surrendering. Instead, he tried to bribe Daenerys, hoping to convince her to leave Yunkai. Looking at the slaves, Daenerys' tone was firm and unyielding. She simply gave him two choices: either free all the slaves and compensate them fairly, or die. The slave master was furious. He put down the word that he would let their allies destroy them instead. Then, he turned and left, leaving the negotiation in disarray. Though Daenerys appeared calm, deep down, she felt a growing concern about these unknown allies. After investigation, Daenerys soon discovered Yunkai's allies were the Second Sons, a 2,000-strong mercenary group loyal only to gold. She invited the Second Sons' leaders to negotiate, offering them even more wealth to abandon Yunkai. But their captain not only rejected her offer, but also insulted Daenerys and harassed Missandei. Daenerys' gaze became cold.
Sir Barristan, if it comes to battle, kill that one first.
Gladly, Your Grace.
The negotiation failed, but there was an unexpected gain. Daenerys' beauty captured Daario Naharis' heart, the lieutenant of the Second Sons. That night, a killer sneaked into Daenerys' tent. When he took off his helmet, it was Daario. He was sent to assassinate her by his captains, but Daario didn't want to. So he disobeyed their orders, cutting their heads, and gave himself and his Second Sons to Daenerys. Impressed by his sincerity, Daenerys took on her clothes, standed in front of Daario, and accepted his allegiance.
The Second Sons are yours, and so is Daario Naharis. My sword is yours, my life is yours, my heart is yours.
With Daario's help, Daenerys easily captured Yunkai. Daario presented its flag to her.
The city is yours, my queen.
You have to say, Daario's got a real knack for flirting with girls. The next day, Daenerys led her army to Yunkai's gates. Facing the city's enslaved population, she didn't boast about her victories. Instead, she told them that freedom is not given, but won through their own courage. Moved by her words, the slaves affectionately called her Misa, which means mother. Daenerys walked into the crowd, letting them lift her high. At that moment, she wasn't just the mother of dragons, but the mother of the people. Thus, Daenerys liberated the city, bringing her one step closer to the Iron Throne.